Lead Girl, the BWEL podcast is your dedicated platform for amplifying the voices of Black women in various roles, whether you're a teacher, school leader, higher educational professional, or educational consultant.
Join us as we honor the stories of remarkable Black women and share insights from our distinctive journeys in education and life.
Tune in as we explore the topics that resonate with us as women, as members of the Black community, and champions in education.
So let's dive in together, show up for ourselves, and serve up joy as the leaders our school communities truly deserve.
Welcome to Lead Girl, the BWEL podcast, where we amplify the voices of Black women in educational leadership.
We are your hosts, Trelane
and Jocelyn.
Our topic today focuses on bringing a vision to life with our guest of honor and founder of the organization, Black Women Education Leaders Incorporated, Dr. Latrese Younger. Dr. Latrese D. Younger is an instructional lead learner in Virginia. She recently received her doctorate degree from Virginia Tech University. Her passion is English language arts, and she believes that she will always be a teacher at heart. Latrese has a servant mindset, spirit, and attitude that she believes helps keep her grounded. She resides with her son, husband, and English bulldog. In her spare time, she loves writing, reading, listening to podcasts, and social media curating. Hello, everybody. Hello, Dr. Latrese. How are we doing today?
Good evening, everyone. I'm doing wonderfully. Every day is wonderful now that I have completed my doctoral studies.
Whoop, whoop, celebration.
I'm sure it is.
Amen.
I'm sure it is. Well, so talk to us a little bit. Who is Latrese? What are you up to in the world currently? Give us a little bit of context right now.
Sure. So right now, I'm just excited to be doing a lot of nothing. I am relaxing. I am taking some time off. My husband calls me the machine, and rightfully so, because I am a person who does not stop picking up little projects. I always want to be actively involved in things, and I love, love, love to create. And so right now, I have decided that I will take some time off from creating and from being very active, at least until I graduate officially on May 8th of this year. So once I've done that, then I can really pick back up fully and just kind of get back into the swing of things. But for now, I really am just enjoying not having to do anything on the weekends, not having to write, not having to plan or study. And it's really been a blessing.
I'm sure that is hard for you from what I know about you.
I'm trying my hardest to stop doing, but that is very, very tough for me.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
I know, because you spend all this time trying to work toward this achievement, and you make it there, and it's like, man, what do I do now?
Yeah,
it's like you don't know what to do at that time. You used to, having to get that paper in, getting some feedback, and always trying to rush all the things, and it kind of slows down. Yeah. I completely understand.
It's the strangest, most surreal feeling ever because I have no idea where all this time came from. It's amazing.
Well, of course, we are super excited about your completion, your achievement, and just all the things that you have done. And just one of those things is like, even being in this organization and myself, the people want to know. What inspired you to start BWEL as an organization?
And every time I tell this story, sometimes I get a little choked up because I remember what I was going through at the time. So I'll try to be brief with it. But really the impetus for BWEL, I say it a couple of ways. Sometimes I say it's intended to amplify and to edify. Sometimes I say it's intended to affirm and to amplify. But either way, the whole premise was there are other Black women in school leadership or in education leadership who are feeling the exact same way that I feel. During the pandemic, actually prior to the pandemic in November of 2019, I had started what was Twitter. I know it's X now, but I started a Twitter page. And the Twitter page was created because I was working in a predominantly white school division, and I was the only Black female, the only Black administrator within my my building at the time as a middle school assistant principal. And my two counterparts, two white females, excellent. They are my friends to date. However, I felt when that pandemic hit that there were some things I could not talk to them about and that they may not have understood because they just don't have my lived experience. And so BWEL was created because I wanted to know what other women who were in my situation were feeling, were going through, because I knew it couldn't be something that was only in isolation for me. I knew there were other people still dealing with those same microaggressive behaviors. You know, sometimes my two female white assistant principals would tell me, Latrese, the way someone responded or reacted to you, that was insubordination. And I would kind of shake it off and say, no, it wasn't. It's not a big deal. But they would affirmatively say, yeah, it is. This is a problem. And you need to tell people it's not okay to treat you that way. So like I said, they're two of my closest friends to date. I respect and love them because even when I wanted to discount what was happening to me, they didn't allow it. And they made sure that they pushed me to speak up when I was feeling and experiencing some of those things. So, you know, again, in a nutshell, BWEL was created because I wanted other Black women who were working, particularly in predominantly white school divisions, to know and understand that it's not okay to allow those types of behaviors, and also that what you're doing is important to a community. You are needed, you are necessary, and you are talented and skilled enough to do the job that you're in place to do.
You know, there are few of us here, and those of us that are here, we're kind of spread out a bit. But it's really powerful, the piece about the allyship that you were able to experience, even within the midst of that that sense of loneliness and sort of, you know, that not feeling as if you belong. So it's wonderful that at least you had someone's that could, you know, speak to uh, what should have been happening, right? Um,
Mhm.
so just thinking about your journey, you know, what led you into education? When did you decide that you wanted to become a leader? Sort of, what's your why? Why are you in this work?
Sure. And, you know, I heard a billion people respond to this question before, about what brought them into education leadership. And the classic answer most of us hear is, I never wanted to be a leader. Well, I can't say that because I did want to be in education leadership. I enrolled in a master's program a couple of weeks after I graduated from Virginia State University. So I knew this is what I want to do. And primarily it's because I'm a lifetime learner. I love learning for the sake of learning. I'm one of those people that, like you all mentioned in the bio, I geek out on podcasts. I listen to recordings of different webinars just for fun, for entertainment purposes. I just want to know. And so going into educational leadership seemed like a next step, a right next step. This is my way to make sure that I stay current on what's promising for educators. I wanted to make sure that I could be of service because another thing that I noticed, even in my bachelor's program prior to enrolling in the master's, was some of the teachers that I would sort of intern with through my practicum experience. They would say things like administration doesn't care, or, you know, our administrators don't know what they're doing, so you're just going to have to do your own thing. And I was taken aback by that. I'm like, there's no way I can go into a field where I've spent 4 years of my life and I'm just going to have to do what people say and I have no say or no stake in it. So I knew, okay, I'm going into education leadership because once I have my career backing already with a number of years, you know, as a teacher, then it's time for me to go into a leadership position where I can have some influence and be able to make sure that teachers feel supported, that no one feels as if the administration team does not care. That meant a lot to me.
Wow. Wow. And well, you know, it's amazing to hear you share that because, you know, I think many of us, like you shared, we have a different story of why we got into education, even educational leadership, and the story is kind of different. It's like I feel like I had to grow into that space. And like you walked in knowing it took me a while to even know that I had a voice to go in to make a difference and I need to create a seat at the table. And so that's amazing. Yeah, that's definitely amazing.
in order to be able to make those transitions, oftentimes we know we can't do this work alone, right? And so there have to be some folks who are surrounding us, who are holding us up, who are encouraging us, our tribe, so to speak. So, so who's in your professional tribe and your personal tribe?
Well, for my professional tribe is usually consistent of two primary um, groups: people who are way more knowledgeable than I am, and people who aspire to be in educational leadership. And I look at those who are aspiring because those are the newbies, the novice, the fresh, wet behind the ear folks that have all these great ideas. They're still excited, they're not jaded by things that have gone on in education or in educational leadership. And that means a lot to me. So I try to, keep my ear to the ground, especially teachers. I'm still a member of the Virginia Association of Teachers of English for that reason. I want to hear what's going on from a teacher's perspective. And then the other group, the folks who just are smarter than me, I need to make sure that I can absorb and get all the knowledge I possibly can. Because I know, for one thing, as a Black female leader, what saves us is knowing your stuff, because that's something that no one can take from you. And I take that very seriously. So any position that I take on, especially in leadership capacity, I make sure that I learn as much as I can about that position, about how it impacts and affects every other position, so that I know in my heart of heart, that I'm doing my very best job in my leadership role.
Wow. So, that brings a lot of pressure on us sometimes when we have to do our best of the best, and we see so many get by with doing minimal, right?
That's very true. A lot of
And
mediocrity.
Mhm. Yep, too much.
But unfortunately for us, it doesn't live there, right? We have to be
Yep,
excellent. We need to be phenomenal and on top of our game all the
yeah.
time.
right. And so with that, like, how do you honor yourself? How do you honor Latrese? And like, what are some self care or wellness? What does that look like for you?
Sometimes it's simple. It's taking a nap. Because, people talk about like getting their nails done and things like that for self care. I need to get some rest. That's self care. And I think when I'm feeling overwhelmed or very stressed out, if I take a nap, I will come back refreshed and 10 times better for anybody and anything that I need to do. But definitely getting rest, which is really essential, because I used to find myself sort of spiraling. I remember my first assistant principalship. I would do crazy things, and I know to some folks it isn't crazy, but to me it is now, looking back. Like waking up in the morning at 3 o'clock and responding to people's emails. Why am I doing that? They can wait, and it will be fine. And I think I had to learn you have to turn that off. You can't be on all the
Mhm.
time. And so one of the best things I do for self care is I stop and I rest.
I'm Jelly, working on that rest thing. Um, yeah, thank you for that emphasis there on naps. I'm sure you're familiar with the nap ministry and rest is resistance.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
yes. Rest is
yes,
resistance.
yes, yes.
Yes.
So that is wonderful. So, you have many gifts and talents, one of which is starting a whole entire organization. But what are some of your other gifts and your some passions? What are the things that bring you joy?
Service for sure. I love any time that I have an opportunity to serve or be a part of a service project. That's my ministry at church. I'm on
Mhm.
outreach because I want to do service. That's what I do with my sorority. I like the service events. Not that I don't like the sisterhood activities and all of the other sort of networking things. But even with my sorority and with Jack and Jill, I love to do the service part because the giving back means a lot to me. I come from a background where, my mom came from a family of 12 sisters and brothers. My father's from Jamaica, West Indies. They took showers outside. He's from the countryside, and they were in abject poverty. And so when I think about what my two parents, my mom from Brooklyn, my dad from Jamaica, West Indies, did to take care of me and my two siblings, it makes me feel grateful. And so everything that I do now, I'm doing it because I want to give back because they invested heavily in me. So I always feel that inclination that I need to give back to another generation.
Mhm. That's great. That's
Right.
great.
Right. So, what advice would you have for Black women who are considering entering into a role for educational leadership?
I know I'll sound like a record player, but definitely learn as much as you possibly can, and take your learning seriously and don't wait to be tapped because you won't always be tapped. Especially if you're a Black female, there are a lot of times where other people in general positions are sort of tapped and told you need to be a leader, or I see leadership qualities
Mm.
in you. And sometimes we may or may not get that, but you have to invest in yourself. So if you know that that's something that you're interested in, if you want to be a principal, if you want to be a superintendent, you take it upon yourself to go and network with someone who's currently in those roles so that you can just have some coffee with them and gain some insight, or you take it upon yourself to buy some leadership books so that you can learn more about those positions. But definitely to self invest, because I think that's very important for us. We need to advocate for our own um, amplification and our own edification in education leadership.
It's so true. I remember when I started to kind of get familiar with Twitter and other social media and all of that. I remember reaching out to a colleague of mine, and I said to him, I'm seeing your presence on social media, and how do you do this? How do I do? How do I do this? How do I get into this? And we did exactly what you said. We went for coffee. He talked to me about why he felt like it was so important, for educators in particular, to be in the social media spaces. He said, just set up your account, and I'm going to send people to follow you, and that's where it started. But yeah, it really does have to. Sometimes it is someone that's outside of your specific context, or even your circle. It could be through someone else, right? That will kind of help you to move to the next stage wherever you want to be. What are some, are there any advice for like pitfalls that you would want to sort of have folks be aware of, right? I mean, we can't avoid them all necessarily, but things to kind of, pay attention to or watch out for. What would you say to someone who's coming up at this point into the leadership field space?
Sure. Definitely to spend time networking, and learning other people's skill sets and leveraging what other people have, their knowledge base, so that you can help improve and increase your own skill set. And for sure, just being yourself and not trying to emulate anyone else, because you'll never be a great leader
Mm.
that way. I spent maybe the first year of my leadership career really trying to emulate what I had
Mhm.
seen, and that bombed
Mm.
wonderfully, because it wasn't who I was. I'm not the person that comes in and just barks out orders, but that's what I had seen, and that's what I did because I thought this is going to be effective. At least I can get people moving. But for my personality, that wasn't effective. What I needed to do was I needed to really tap into the why. And that I feel has been my saving grace as a leader. I work constantly on, if I can show people why something matters, they'll stay with
Mhm.
me. So just definitely being yourself, and learning how to network and leveraging the strengths of others.
It's great. It's great advice.
So, for women who are part of Be Well, and it's been amazing just for me, a journey for me the last couple of years. Oh, I can't even keep counting now. It's been a little while now that I've been in the
Yeah.
organization, and the relationships that I've been able to have. Um, what are some of your hopes and dreams for Be Well, and as it moves forward and become this premier organization for Black women in educational leadership?
I guess my biggest hope and dream is that we remember what it's all about and we never lose sight of that. It's always about the sisterhood. It's always been about that. That's how it started. That's how it needs to be forever and always. If we can make sure that everything we do is about taking care of the sister beside us, we will do our due diligence in this world. It is our goal to make sure that no sister is ever feeling unsupported or left behind or without a friend. That's our goal in education leadership, because it can be very, very lonely.
And although we are still small, we are growing fast this year, which is just so amazing. And being in the role of president right now, and just watching that happen, and always being reminding myself, reminding the other officers, like, the sisterhood is where it's at. Regardless of whatever the work is that we have to do, it's about saying, hey, I'm here, and I know that you're here for me, right? So that definitely is something that we want to just continue to push out there to everyone. I was looking for this organization and found it on Twitter.
Thank God for Twitter, especially during the
Oh my
pandemic.
goodness! Oh my goodness! It was amazing. Um, so really being able to, to provide that for other Black women is so critical. And I've heard from some, interestingly enough, I've heard from male educators, and even, white male educators, white female educators, like, wow, that's really wonderful. That's so needed. That's the phrase that I hear a lot. That organization is so needed. So we definitely have a responsibility to upscale and really make sure that sisterhood grows and expands. This is my favorite part of the podcast. Yes,
As you can tell,
I
her
love it.
excitement.
It is
I heard her voice
fire.
go
Yes,
up in octave.
Yes, all up.
I love it. We might need some theme music right there for rapid fire. So, all right, I'm going to give you a topic, and you're going to tell us the first thing that comes to your mind as fast as possible. Okay. Try to keep it to
Fun.
one thing.
Okay.
That's part of the whole rapid thing.
Right.
All right, you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Favorite comfort food?
Pizza.
Go-to activity for self-care?
Taking a nap.
Man, you looked ahead, I think. That's what it was.
No, we just talked about this.
I know, I'm kidding. Favorite activity you do for fun?
Read and listen to podcasts.
Favorite place to vacation?
Ooh, anywhere in the Caribbean.
A song or a genre that just amps you up for the day?
Don't laugh, but I love gospel rap, and there is a such genre as gospel
There
rap,
sure is.
and it is live right now. It gets me
Yes, there
going.
sure is. Favorite leadership book?
Ooh. You know what? Lead with Faith by Sarah Johnson.
Ooh.
Favorite book, because she taught me it is okay to lead with your faith. You can let people know that you are a strong believer in Jesus Christ, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. Yeah, I would agree. A book you're reading for pleasure right now?
I would say none, because I'm finished with school. The Bible. That is for pleasure right now.
Hey,
because when I feel flustered, that is my go-to, so that I can get some support and uplift. So the Bible, awesome. I'll take that.
And any podcast recommendations that we should check out, or topics for our podcast?
Definitely doing some work with Black female mentoring. We talked about it, we touched on it, but there's so much research that supports it, and how much it really does improve our self-confidence, our efficacy, and our competency in the roles. So definitely some work on mentorship for sure.
Wonderful. I love it. Okay. Here we are, Jocelyn.
Yeah, well, it was a pleasure having you on this lovely episode today with you. I can't wait to share with others, to hear your voice. And of course, we want you not to be a stranger, to come back on and continue to share your voice. And so I want to thank everyone for tuning in and listening to Lead Girl, the BWEL podcast, where we amplify the voices of Black women in educational leadership. BWEL is a nonprofit organization open for membership for you to serve and be served. If you are a Black woman in educational leadership, we are looking for you. So become a member or support us by visiting blackwomeneducationleaders.com and follow us on social media, Twitter, X, LinkedIn, and Facebook.
Tune in for upcoming episodes on a variety of topics that are sure to be relevant to your personal growth and professional practice. We invite and encourage you to give us feedback or request to join our show. Email us at bewellpodcast@gmail.com or reach out to us on social media at leaders_black. See you next time. Until then, lead, girl.
You better lead.
Yes.